Example 1, expand and simplify x minus 2 to the exponent 5. Using the distributive property is not the most efficient way, so we're going to rely on Pascal's triangle to expand this instead. So Pascal's triangle starts with 1 in the 0th row, and then 1 and 1 in the first row. And to get subsequent rows, all you have to do is add consecutive numbers in the previous row. So adding 1 and 1 together gives us 2, and then you're going to write 1s on either side. To get the next row, add these consecutive numbers together. So 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 1 is 3, and we're going to add 1s on either side. Doing it one more time, 1 plus 3 is 4, 3 plus 3 is 6, 3 plus 1 is 4. And then one last time, 1 plus 4 is 5, 4 plus 6 is 10, 6 plus 4 is 10, 4 plus 1 is 5, and 1 on either side. So the first one here is in the 0th row, then the 2 1s are in the first row, then we have the second row, the third row, the 4th row, and the 5th row. And since our original binomial that we need to expand and simplify has an exponent of 5, the coefficients in the expanded and simplified form would correspond to the 5th row of Pascal's triangle. So the coefficients of all the terms that we're going to end up with will be 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, and 1. Okay, so I'm going to write them down now. I'm going to leave a little bit of room in between. And each term is going to contain the terms of the binomial raised to some exponent. So I'm going to see powers of these terms. So I'm going to write these terms next to the coefficients, with x being my first term and then -2 being my second term in the binomial that I see. And the next step would be to write the exponents on each of these terms. So for the first term in your binomial, you're going to start with the same exponent as you see in the question. So an exponent of 5. And then you're going to decrease by 1. So the next exponent on x will be 4, and then 3, 2, 1, and 0. Okay? For the -2 term, you're going to start with 0 and increase by 1. So the next term will have an exponent of 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and 5. The sum of the exponents have to add up to 5. And that 5 corresponds to the exponent in the question. Okay? And then you can write plus in between. And the next step is just to evaluate. So just focus on the numbers first and multiply. So we have 1 multiplied by power of -2 to the exponent 0. Well, -2 to the exponent 0 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So we have 1 followed by x to the exponent of 5. I'm not going to write the 1 because it can be implied. I'm just going to write x to the 5. So x to the 5, exponent of 5 would be the first term. Let's look at the second term. We have 5 times -2. That's -10. And that's going to be followed by x to the 4. Next term, we have 10 times -2 squared. Well, -2 squared is 4. 4 times 10 is 40. So I have 40 followed by x cubed. Then I have 10 times -2 cubed. -2 cubed is -8. -8 times 10, that's -80, followed by x squared. And then I have 5 times -2 to the exponent of 4. -2 to the exponent of 4 is positive 16. When multiplied by 5, that's a positive 80, and it will be followed by x. And finally, I have 1 times -2 to the exponent of 5, and that's equal to -32. And then x to the exponent 0 will equal to 1. So -32 times 1 is -32. And this would be the expanded and simplified form of the binomial x minus 2 raised to the exponent 5. Okay? Let's look at and this one. Okay, here we have to use the third row of Pascal's triangle. So if you look here, the third row has the coefficients 1, 3, 3, and 1. The first term of my binomial is 5x. So I'm going to write 5x in each term. The second term is 2y. Okay. And then I'm going to fill in the exponents. So the first exponent on 5x would be 3, then 2, then 1, then 0. The exponents on 2y will start with 0. Then we'll get 1, 2, and 3. The sum of my exponents will add up to 3. And I'm going to write plus in between. Okay. Now remember when we worked with exponent rules or exponent laws in chapter 4, when you have a product like this, each factor has to be raised to the exponent. So this means that 5 is being raised to the exponent 3 and x is being raised to the exponent 3. Here we have 2 being raised to the exponent 0 and y being raised to the exponent 0. So you have to keep that in mind. So if it helps, you can write it all out separately. So I'm going to do that, but you don't need to. So I have 1 times 5 cubed times x cubed times 2 to the 0 times y to the 0. And I have 3 times 5 squared times x squared times 2 to the 1 times y to the 1. And I have 3 times 5 to the 1 times x to the 1 times 2 squared times y squared. And finally, I'm going to have 1 times 5 to the 0 times x to the 0 times 2 cubed times y cubed. Okay. And anything raised to the exponent 0 will equal to 1. So we can just cross them out and put 1 in their place. And now evaluating, start with the numbers. So you have 1 times 5 cubed, which is 125, followed by x cubed. Okay. And then here in the next term, focusing on the numbers, we have 3 times 5 squared times 2, which gives us an answer of 150. And it will be followed by x squared and a y. We go to the next term. We have 3 times 5 times 2 squared. And that gives us 60. And it will be followed by x and a y squared. And then here we just have 1 times 2 cubed, which gives us 8. And it will be followed by y cubed. And that would be the final answer there.